Good morning, Latin for Children B. We are looking at chapter 24 and we're looking at some grammar for chapter 24. This is a lesson. You need to listen to the lesson. When I give you the exercises, you can pause and decide if you want to forward just to correct or go through them with me. But this is the lesson. So we're talking about the imperfect tense. And this lesson information is all included in your book. If you want to read your book, you can. But the imperfect tense is for an action that was happening in the past, but it was progressive, it was habitual, or it was incomplete. Pig and dog. Oh, yeah. Incomplete. It was not perfect. Perfect means it was complete, it was done, and that was the end of it. So we're going to look at the ways that we can translate the imperfect tense. So here we're comparing the present tense, two verbs, to the imperfect tense, two verbs in the first person form. Ambulo, I walk. Or we can also say, I am walking, or I do walk. Sto, I stand. I am standing. I do stand. But let's look at how it's translated in the imperfect. Ambulabam, I was walking. I used to walk. I kept walking. Stabam, I was standing. I used to stand. I kept standing. So in English, we have a present progressive form. It's a being verb plus ing. So in English, that present progressive is I am walking. Oops, over the line. I am walking. There's the being verb. There's the ing. I am standing. That's our progressive form. It means it's happening over time. It's going on. And in English, we have a past progressive form, which is also a verb plus an ing. It would be I was walking. I was standing. And all of the ways that we translate the imperfect in Latin are all equivalent to a past progressive translation. Now that might not mean a lot to you, but progress, something that is happening over time. I was walking. I used to walk. That was something over time. I kept walking. You can see the time passing. You can see the progress made. So now we know three ways of translating the Latin imperfect tense. Was something ing, used to do something, or kept something ing. Those are three ways to translate that. Now let's look at the future tense for a moment. Leave the imperfect and see the future. Okay? Oops. In English, ooh, that's kind of weird. If we have the Latin word amabo with a future tense ending, in English, I will love, or I will be loving. If it was edo, I will eat. So edibo. I forgot to put the bow. Edibo. Sounds like edible. Edibo. I will eat. I will be eating. All right? So those are the future progressive choices of translation. All future tenses need a helping verb. There's our helping verb. Ooh, couple helping verbs. Sometimes they need a couple or will, or sometimes they could use shall. I shall love. I shall be loving. And the future progressive form uses the participle ing there. So this is the progressive form with ing. and a being verb. I will be, I shall be, and an ing onto the verb for progressive. Now, let's put that all together by looking at the chart at the bottom of page 176. You can see that we have our three tenses. We have our present on our chart, we have our imperfect, and we have our future. And I am not going to write this entire chart out. I want you to look at the parts of the chart, and then we're just going to read it off the chart. So I'm expecting that you are on page 176 before you go further. This is the Latin word. This is the English tense, the English time, and this is the English translation, English form, what it looks like in English. My pig is going crazy over there. So if you see on your chart, you have the Latin word amo, and we have three different English tenses. We have the simple present, I love, the present progressive, I am loving, see the progress, and present emphatic, with emphasis, I do love. Then the imperfect, a bomb, with the bomb on it, is only past progressive. The imperfect is always in past progressive no matter how well we translate it, and it translates into three different ways of past progressive. I was loving, I used to love, I kept loving. Future, amabo. It has two different English tenses. The simple future, I will or shall love, but the future progressive, it has the ing in there. I will be loving, I shall be loving. So progress, progressive, it's going to happen over time. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense because we're actually going to do some exercises with this. Now we're on page 178. We're going to look at the first memory worksheet for chapter 24. And you've got your just translation at the beginning. I want you to do that. That should be easy for you. I don't see anything crazy on there. And then you have your Esté Estás Stud chant that you need to be working on every single day, writing it out and memorizing it. But let's go down to the grammar. C, grammar. If you don't understand this part on C grammar, you will not be able to do well on your quiz. And it's imperative that you understand it. So after I do this video, if you still don't understand it, then you got to send me a remind and ask me a couple questions. Or ask me in the beginning of class, but it's better to ask me before you take your quiz on Friday. You can't just skip through a video and skip this grammar, which a couple kids are doing right now. C has part 1 and part 2. We've talked about this yesterday, the difference between ele and esté. There we go. What was the difference between ele and esté? Well, both of them mean that. Ele means that over there. And esté means that near you. There's esté. So how can we remember it? Ele and esté. Near you and far away. You're just going to have to practice that. Maybe you can come up with a silly way of memorizing, but they both mean that. One means that near you, one means that further away. Now we've got the English, I will love, and we've got the Latin, that's a future tense. So we're looking at, are these future or are they imperfect? So this is a little bit easier. This is done for you. Easier and lower level than that little talk I just had about all the different tenses we have in English and in Latin. I was loving has a was. So what is it? Is it future or is it imperfect? Well, it's imperfect. happening in the past. I used to love. Used to, in the past, imperfect. Hopefully you've got this all figured out before I even write it down. I will be loving. Will be, future. And the final one, I kept loving. Kept is past tense, so it is in the imperfect. Next job, little bit harder. You can save this for tomorrow, pause the video, or you can plunge on, just depends on how well you're doing. Make sure you practice your words every day. Next job is page 179. Why does it keep doing that? Page 179. Whoa, 179. Right, wants to do that. So 179, our translation worksheet, has the tense. This is the Latin tense. The Latin word. The English tense. This is the one that's a little tougher that we have to pay attention to. And the English form. Since our Latin tenses and our English tenses, ooh, how'd I do that? Smooth, Mrs. Proctor. Since our Latin tenses and our English tenses are a little bit different, that's going to make this chart very interesting. So I want you to do this chart with me. So within the present tense, we have the Latin word volat. We can see it ends in a T. We know a T goes with he, she, or it. So we've got 3 different English tenses. Simple present, present progressive, I'm just going to abbreviate them, and present emphatic. Emphasis. So how will we do that in English? Simple present, T is he or she or it, so we'll put he, volo, volare, he flies. Present progressive, it's going over time. We need the ing form. He is flying. Do you see the progress? He's flying from here to there. It's happening. It's going over space and time. Present emphatic gives us the emphasis. He does fly. Because there are people who don't fly. Oh, he does fly. He flies. He is flying. He does fly. Can you see the emphasis? Can you see the progress? Let's do imperfect. Peka vamos. That has a mus. This is going to have a past progressive because it has a ba. Past progressive. So past progressive, we don't leave a lot of room here. Mus is we. Past, we're going to have a were. And pekato, or peko, it's weird.